There's no doubt in my mind that UFO are a dreadfully underrated band. But what would their 5 best albums be? Let's get into it, shall we? Welcome Classic Rock fans to a video where we look at the catalogue of the band UFO, a band I think eclipsed by those 70s behemoths like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. Nevertheless, criminally underrated in my opinion. If you're new to this channel, please do click like, subscribe and do check that notification bell. It makes all the difference to the YouTube algorithm. And check some of the links below the video for ways you can support the sterling work done at Classic Album Review. It's always much appreciated. Anyway, what are their 5 best albums? Let's get into it, shall we? Number 5 is No Heavy Petting from 1976, an album that kicks off with Natural Thing. What a wonderful track that is. It's what I love about this album. It has lots of folky, intricate and acoustic passages with some crescendos and twists as well. And I believe this track is one that featured in the band's set list right up to the end of their career, I think. Nevertheless, this album is marred by some lukewarm material, tracks like Can You Roll Her and Reasons Love, which simply add nothing to the record. And Pete Way doesn't help matters with his only contribution to this album being the painfully dull and ironically titled On With The Action. You get Belladonna, which is one of my favourites on this record. It hasn't aged well, to be honest with you. It sounds rather mawkish to modern ears, with its synth-simulated harpsichord. It is a classically tinged ballad, and it's more notable, I think, for the complete lack of drums on it. We get some wonderful soloing from Michael Schenker on here, which really lifts this number up, I think. And Phil's lyrics talk of a love-torn suicide, but there's a whiff of drug addiction to this as well. I mean, Belladonna is also known as Deadly Nightshade, and it was used historically as an anaesthetic and a poison. Phil sings at one point, the fingers are poisoned like needles, and the tea so delicately laced. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Number 4 is Phenomenon from 1974. As UFO signed to Chrysalis, they receive a gift from the gods of rock, as Jack Black might say, in the guise of this young German guitarist poached from the Scorpions before they went all whistly on us. Schenker, of course, replaced Mick Bolton, the original guitarist, as well as guitarists Larry Wallace and Bernie Marsden, before that Road to Damascus moment where they saw Schenker play and decided he'd be perfect for this band. Interestingly, Bernie Marsden went on to play for Wild Turkey, and he actually contributes to some of the writing on this record. But this album is certainly a watershed moment for this band, as they were trying to rediscover, redefine their sound. Interesting, a Los Angeles DJ described them as the English Steely Dan. There's no doubt Michael Schenker had a huge influence on this band, and certainly the material they started producing, Get Too Young to Know, which is... it has a lot of glam influences there. I think we can detect a bit of Bowie and Mott the Hoople, as well as Doctor, which the studio version feels quite understated compared to the live versions. Space Child seems to be a track that seems to be a little bit of a hangover from the pre-Schenker days. It has that kind of almost space rock, psychedelic feel to it. It's a dreamy acoustic number, which one could imagine perhaps adorning the very first Rainbow album. I mean, who knows? Number 3 is Foret from 1975. This is their second album with Schenker, still as a 4-piece by the way, but it's an album that really saw them hit their stride. It's an album that boasts my favourite UFO song of all time, and that's Mother Mary. This album is packed with no-nonsense rockers, as well as their first flirtation with keyboards on the ballad Out in the Street. The keyboards, of course, are played by guest Chick Churchill, who was 10 years after bandmate of the producer Leo Lyons. For this album, the sort of remaining folk rock or space rock elements are minimalised here as they kind of launch their new manifesto as a hard rocking outfit. Moving towards an uncompromising rock sound, tracks like Let It Roll, Shoot Shoot certainly kick off the album in a rousing fashion. You get the punchy single Love Lost Love that sounds tailor-made for the American audience, by the way, and the acoustic ballad High Fly, which is okay, but it kind of results in a slight dip on this record. And the cover, of course, is a pun. I think it's the Hypnosis cover. It features a couple in this coital clasp. And, of course, you've got the sexual meaning of force it. And they're in a bathroom surrounded by taps. And, of course, the American word for tap is faucet. You see what they did there? Interestingly, the couple actually feature in the photograph are two band members from the group Throbbing Gristle. How appropriate is that? Number 2 is Obsession from 1978. This saw this band decamp to LA, I believe, and work with producer Neverson, as well as future Guns N' Roses producer Mike Klink. This album has a real streetwise edge to it, despite the pastoral strings on Looking Out for Number 1, as well as the recorder on Arbery Hill. Vocalist Phil Mogg is absolutely fabulous on this album, especially on One More for the Rodeo and Hot and Ready, where it really shows off his chops as a vocalist. You get tracks like Only You Can Rock Me, which kicks this album off with a real sense of joie de vivre, shall we say. You get the funky Pack It Up and Go, which has a real Bonham feel to it, courtesy of Andy Parker. And the Zepp groove is continued with Ain't No Baby. There are a couple of subpar numbers on here, but the album soon gets back on track with the wonderfully melodic Cherry and You Don't Fool Me, the latter containing some tasty fretwork from the soon-to-depart Michael Schenker. Number 1 is the finest UFO album ever, and that is Lights Out from 1977. This is the perfect document of what elevated this band to rub shoulders with that classic rock aristocracy of the 1970s. This is where it all comes together for this band, with the title track, Too Hot to Handle, the wonderful Love to Love. These are 3 songs that I believe were ending the UFO shows, even till very recently. This is the first album where they worked with producer Ron Neverson, who wasn't afraid to mix things up a bit, including adding acoustic guitars to Getting Ready and even a string section for Try Me and Just Another Suicide. This album sees this band operating with the paradigms of what all music describes that Euro blues framework. This album incorporates challenging dynamics and some epic balladry, really showcasing Phil Mogg as a brilliant vocalist. Check out Love to Love, where the ridiculously heavy intro gives way to this sort of flourishing poetics, which only serves to illustrate why this album is so damn good. Michael Schenker's guitar is expressive and bluesy on this album. In fact, Kerrang! Magazine listed this as one of the greatest heavy metal albums of all time. Anyway, there you are. That's my top 5 UFO albums. To what extent do you agree with this list? I'd love to hear your comments down below. Please do click like, subscribe and check the notification bell. Do all that stuff. And other than that, I'll leave you with my closing salvo, which is I hope you're well and staying safe, and of course that you keep listening.